What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me. I felt like doing another tier list video. So today I'm going to do a horror mysteries tier list. Love horror, love mysteries. You put them together. It's a great combination. If you haven't, also check out, I did a video, top 75 mystery movies. It's a beast. I go through a ton. And so check out that video if you haven't yet. But anyways, let's get to it. Horror mysteries tier list. So as you can see, the categories, we've got mind-blowing mystery, solid mystery, mysterious enough, overrated, and a mysterious atrocity. Those are my 5 tiers. Let's begin. So first up here, we got A Tale of Two Sisters, and I love this movie. I'm debating between solid mystery or mind-blowing mystery. Man, you know what the heck, let's just throw it up in the top tier. It's really, really good. I've just rewatched this one not too long ago. This one was in, I think I did a top 10 like psychological horror thrillers too. This one's in it. It's awesome. It's from South Korea, and this one is more of a slow burn, but just really, really creepy. Got obviously a great mystery to it. Keeps you guessing all the way to the end. It's got a pretty killer twist in it. And yeah, just really good atmosphere and top-notch stuff. Next up, the classic Sixth Sense. And this is one that I'm going to put also in the top category as well. This is one that I probably need to rewatch. I haven't seen it in a long time. But I remember first watching this when I was a younger kid, and it freaking the crap out of me. I actually have a specific memory of, this is probably one of the first like legitimate scary horror movies I ever watched. I didn't really watch a lot of horror as like a younger kid. This is one of those first movies, and I remember like watching this and being pretty freaked out. And obviously, you know, I would say it's a classic. It's got probably the most well-known twist ending of all time. But yeah, it's pretty great. Next up, we got The Babadook, and I should probably let you know early on in the video, there's going to be a few of these that might lose me some fans. There's going to be some few of these that are going to have some hot takes. I'm going to put The Babadook in overrated, and I know that that is obviously a hot take, but this is one I appreciate the effort. It just didn't really connect with me. One of the main things about it was the kid in the movie drove me absolutely nuts. He was so annoying, and it was just irritating to watch. And I understand, you know, it's all about grief and stuff like that. I think what's her name, Essie Davis, I think her performance is really good, but man, I just didn't really connect with this one the way that it seems like the majority of people did. So I'm putting it in overrated. Next up, we have The Changeling. This is from, I think, came out in 1980. And this stars George C. Scott. I'm going to put this one in a solid mystery. I wish George C. Scott did more like horror thriller movies, because man, having just watched Exorcist 3, and then obviously with this, man, really good stuff. The Changeling, this is kind of one of those lesser known, maybe bit hidden gem, especially amongst kind of 80s horror movies, that kind of gets overshadowed by a lot of the more well-known ones. But The Changeling is really good atmosphere, just really creepy, and yeah, just a lot of good stuff in The Changeling. And George C. Scott, I think, is just fantastic. So if you haven't seen that one, check it out. It's really good. Next up, we got Coherence. This is one I actually was in another video that I did, like top 10 mind-melting movies or something like that. And this one's also going to go in solid mystery for me. I think this one is really solid. It's got a sci-fi twist to it, and this one maybe not explicitly horror, more of a sci-fi mystery thriller. But man, it's really, really good. It's definitely psychological, kind of plays around with time and stuff like that. Really low budget, all set in one location with just this cast of characters. And but it's just really good. The story, the concept is really interesting, really grabs you, and they execute it quite well on just a really small budget. But yeah, it's really solid. Next up is The Conjuring. And as I said, there's going to be some hot takes in this. Um, this is kind of a weird one because I feel like, to me, The Conjuring is kind of a mid tier movie, and I feel like it should almost be put in the overrated for me category because I'm putting it in mid tier, but I'm gonna put it in mysterious enough. Look, I like the movie. I think that it's directed. James Wan's direction of it's really good in terms of how effective just the horror element is and the scares and all that stuff. I just thought the story is pretty basic and nothing really all that great, and the characters are fine. Um, and so it's a really well executed movie in terms of horror and scares. The whole clapping scene and everything. There's some really good stuff in it, but it just left me wanting a little bit more. It left me a little unsatisfied with the story and the characters, and so I'm gonna just put it in mid tier. Next up, we've got Get Out. And let's see. Get Out. Get Out, we're going to go solid. Get Out it's really solid. I feel like probably everybody, though, would have it in that top tier. This is another one. I wouldn't say it's like overrated. I'm probably not quite as high on it as the majority of people, but it's really good. Obviously, really like Jordan Peele. Performances in it are really good. Daniel Kaluuya is great, and I think this film has. I just like Jordan Peele because I think his movies have depth to them. There's more than just the surface level stuff, and he's trying to say stuff, and it's interesting. There's stuff to chew on and think about and stuff like that. So it's yeah, it's a solid mystery for sure. Next up, we got The Gift, and The Gift is also going to go in the solid mystery category. This is one too that I think is a little more kind of underrated, hidden gem a little bit. And this one, if I'm not mistaken, was actually directed by Joel Edgerton, who's the guy in the movie. I want to look that up real quick because I don't want to misspeak. But let's see, am I right? Yeah, Joel Edgerton wrote and directed it, and yeah, this is a really good one. His performance in it, I think, is really good and also kind of off-putting and creepy. Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall, who is gold, in my opinion, is in it as well. And this one has a really messed up and disturbing ending as well. But yeah, it's really good. If you haven't seen it, like I said, that one's more of kind of a lesser seen one, but I would recommend it. Next up, we have The Happening. Oh boy, yeah. And I'm going to drop that in Mysterious Atrocity, right where it belongs. And yeah, look, it's a shame here that you've got an M. Night Shyamalan movie in the top tier and then also in the bottom tier. And I've been watching M. Night since forever, basically. And I've seen the roller coaster ride of his career. It's like, man, you kick off things, Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, Signs, and then it's just been craziness after that. It's like, I just so wish he could get back. And he's had a couple moments of, hope almost being restored, and then he lets out another one. Anyway, yeah, The Happening it's just really bad. I saw this in theaters, and it's just awful. It's unintentionally hilarious. The performances are really, really bad. It's just not scary. It just comes across. It's just cringe, honestly. It's just really bad. If you've seen it, it's The Wind. Like, really? That's it? Spoiler alert, but I mean, come on. It's just really bad. Okay, next up I've got Identity. And Identity for me is, I'm going to go in a solid mystery. This is one that is, man, it's probably close to 20 years old now. I think if you were to like watch it for the first time today, it might feel a little tropish, or it might feel a little like, we've kind of seen this a little bit before. But I think especially for its time, it was I guess maybe a little more original than it might be today, but I still think it's really solid. And I think John Cusack in it's really good. It's got an interesting setup. You got all these people who are trapped together in this place, and they start dying, and but there's just more to it than that. And so, yeah, it's a fun one. It's got just some, it's got a good mystery to it, obviously, and this is one too that, now being a little bit older, might be a little bit lesser seen. So if you haven't seen Identity, I think it's a pretty solid one. All right, man, there's so many of these I feel like are going to be in these top couple tiers because there's a lot of good ones here. Invitation, man, great film. This one, man, this one could be borderline in the top tier. I really really liked Invitation. This is another one that is more of a lower budget. It's just a cast of characters pretty much all in one location. John Carroll Lynch is in this, who's kind of one of those actors who, if you've watched horror and stuff like that, he kind of pops up here and there, and you're like, oh, that's that guy. He's in Zodiac, which is like one of my all-time favorite movies, but he's in this too. I just remember specifically the first scene that comes to mind when I think of this is he gives this monologue that is so upsetting and very, very just messed up, and the atmosphere in this is fantastic, and then it's just kind of this slow burn until it just gets cranked to full throttle at the end. It's got a killer ending, and yeah, it's pretty fantastic. All right, next up is It Follows. And It Follows for me is going to be, we're also going to put this in a solid mystery. This is another one I need to rewatch, but it's stuck with me for quite a while. I like Micah Monroe's performance. In fact, she was in one of my favorite Final Girls. I did a video of my top 15, I think, Final Girls not too long ago. She was in that. This one, too, it takes kind of the, I don't know, the monster killer is after you, but does it in such a unique way, right? Where, like, they're not fast, but it's just this constant, like, you can't ever outrun them because eventually they're going to catch up to you. And it's just this unending terror that just continually follows you wherever you go. And obviously there's a little bit of depth to it. It's kind of all a, I don't know, metaphor, symbolic thing for STDs and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, this one just unique, different, but just really effective, and I dug it. Next up is Jacob's Ladder. I feel like this one's kind of a borderline classic at this point as well. Jacob's Ladder for me, man, it's close to that top tier, but we're going to put it in solid mystery. Yeah, this is another one that, man, this one's like over 30 years old now, so some of them older ones I know maybe have a tendency to be lesser seen, but if you haven't seen Jacob's Ladder, it's awesome. This one stars Tim Robbins. His performance in it's really good, and he plays this Vietnam War veteran who just deals with all sorts of insanity as he kind of starts losing his mind. There's just some really messed up imagery in this one. Things just get wild. It's kind of this like descent into hell. And yeah, it's a wild one, but it's pretty fantastic. All right, next up we have The Autopsy of Jane Doe. And let's see. I think this one's also a bit of a hidden gem. Yeah, it's a solid one. I like a lot of these kind of more simplistic setups. There's just something so interesting to me when, like, you can kind of almost, I've mentioned on my channel a few times, I sort of like almost like the stage play type presentation where you kind of have almost like a single location and just a handful of characters and you just kind of let them go. And this is another one. It's not exactly a single location, but pretty darn close. It's got Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch in it, and they're doing this autopsy on this body of a Jane Doe, and they cut this girl open and things go crazy. And so it's just another kind of simple setup, but just really effective, just good atmosphere, creepy, and obviously the whole mystery is surrounding, who or what is this and what exactly is going on. But yeah, pretty good one. The Machinist is I feel like almost this entire list could go in these in this second tier. It's another one. It's just really good. It's not quite at that elite level, but one of Christian Bale's, I think, kind of more underrated, lesser talked about performances. This is crazy because like this is the one he lost all this weight for. He's like pure skin and bones in this. He plays this insomniac who like, kind of starts losing his mind, and then right after this, he like put on 100 pounds to play Batman, which is crazy. But yeah, this thing is worth watching just for Christian Bale's performance alone. I think it's one of his best performances. And like I said, he plays this insomniac who just starts losing his mind. So, it's got some horror, thriller, mystery, psychological stuff in it as well. It just gets trippy. And like I said, Bale is awesome. Next up, we got the Neon Demon, and I'm gonna put this one in mysterious enough. I like Nicholas Winding Refn, and he's a very visual director. He's kind of one of those like auteurs where you can almost like immediately recognize it's his movie just by the visuals. Everything's just soaked in all these neon colors and everything. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's got some bizarre stuff. The scene with Jenna Malone and the dead body is something I'm still trying to scrub from my mind. Elle Fanning in it's pretty good. It's almost a bit of this kind of horrific satire on narcissistic and models and all people obsessed with youth and beauty and all that stuff. Refn sometimes can get into a little bit of style over substance, and so that kind of is the case here a little bit, which is kind of why I'm putting it more in the mid tier there. Next up, we've got the Orphanage, and wouldn't you know, I'm also going to put that one in solid mystery. It's a really good ghost story, and this one, the mystery in it is just captivating, and it's got just some great atmosphere, really creepy. The ending, oh man, the ending is very memorable and very dark, but it's just a great ghost story. This one's Spanish language. I think Guillermo del Toro I know he didn't direct it, but I think he had something to do with it. Produced it maybe. Anyways, yeah. Spanish ghost story, just a really solid mystery. If you haven't seen The Orphanage, it's really good. The Others. This one, I'm going to go in mysterious enough. It's it's a bit of a Sixth Sense. I don't want to say rip off, but kind of. And I won't say anything more than that. I think it's good. I enjoy it. It's been a while since I've seen it. I've just never really had much of a desire to rewatch it again. Nicole Kidman's good. It does have some good atmosphere. Yeah, but I don't know, it's not super memorable for me, and so I'm putting it there in the mid tier. The Ring. The Ring is going to go in solid mystery. I really like The Ring. I think I would say it's probably a borderline classic at this point, or a modern classic. Naomi Watts is really good. I just think the idea, the whole concept around a cursed, VHS videotape that you watch it and then you die in 7 days is just really cool to me. This one too has one of the most terrifying jump scares I have ever seen in it. And if you've seen the movie, which you probably have, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The look on that girl's face in the closet. Oh my good Lord. The first time I saw it, I about jumped off the couch. Freaked the crap out of me. But yeah, no, it's really good. The Ring. And cool too, they filmed at least some of it. Deception Pass, which is actually not too far away from where I live, and I've been there, so it's kind of cool. Anyways, next up is The Ritual, David Bruckner. I'm gonna put this in mysterious enough. It's borderline solid mystery. There's a lot I really liked about it. I think the creature design's pretty fantastic. I think I kind of liked the first half of it almost better than the second half, and Like I said, I really like the creature design. That's cool. The first half of it, though, is really what kind of grabs you, and it's just really creepy. And just with them guys wandering around in the woods. And then I felt like once you kind of get to the second half, or once you sort of figure out what's going on, they kind of reveal their hand, and then you're kind of like, okay, so it sort of becomes like just a creature feature type thing. I would still recommend it though. I definitely think it's worth watching. But it's just, yeah, it's more of a mid tier, but I still like it though. Next up is Scream, and let's see if I can zoom out just a little bit here. Come on. There we go. I want to be able to see. All right, Scream for me is going up in the all-time mind-blowing mystery. I love it. I've reviewed it. Sidney Prescott's my favorite final girl. It's one of my all-time favorites. I really like this one too. That like, I mean, I could go on and on about this. But obviously, like I said, I've reviewed it, so check out my review if you want more thoughts. But I think it's maybe the best example of like a perfect mixture of horror and comedy, but also mystery as well. Because like it's kind of like a who done it. You know, I love just how they build the mystery into, you know, the whole reveal and everything. You're just so wrapped up into who is Ghostface and all that. Great characters. Matthew Lillard, the best. And so, yeah, Scream for me is great stuff. Shining. Shining is also going up in mind-blowing mystery. Shining it's a top 10 of all time, maybe even top 5 of all time favorite horror movies. I mean, what can I say about it that hasn't been said? It's Kubrick. It's Jack Nicholson. It's a classic. It's fantastic. It's got one of the greatest, most mind-blowing, mysterious, you know, ending final shots, ambiguous and just crazy final shots ever. And yeah, I love it. Okay. Silence of the Lambs is also going in the top tier. It's another classic. I just did a top 10 serial killer movies. Silence of the Lambs is in the list. You know, kind of another one of what can I say that hasn't already been said. Hannibal Lecter, Anthony Hopkins is fantastic. I think Ted Levine, though, deserves some love because he is, I would say, probably just about as memorable as Anthony Hopkins in it. Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I mean, what can I say? It's just awesome. Next up is Sinister. And Sinister for me, let's see. Where am I going to put Sinister? I'm going to go... Yeah, I'm going to go solid mystery. I like Ethan Hawke. There's something about, like, there's something about, like, when people find, like, videotapes or film and stuff like that, something about that idea is just really, it kind of captivates me. Stuff with, like, cursed films and videotapes, there's something about that just really hooks me in. So this one, too, has a really great jump scare with the lawn mowing sequence and stuff like that, too. It's just really creepy. The look of, Bagul, the demon, is really disturbing, and yeah, Sinister's pretty solid. Stay. This is one that I'm gonna go on mysterious enough. I know a lot of people kind of hate this, but I think it was actually pretty decent. It's an interesting idea. It doesn't quite come together, but I think there's enough in it that it's at least worth a watch, and I kind of liked the attempt and the ambition of it. It's got a good cast, and it's a pretty interesting one. Stir of Echoes is... I feel like this one's okay for me. This one would probably be like at the very end of Mysterious Enough. This one's got Kevin Bacon in it, and he gets like hypnotized, and then he starts seeing visions of this ghost around his house, and then, you know, this whole mystery of who is this ghost, and, you know, what exactly is going on, why is she there, kind of unfolds. It's just kind of middle of the road. There's not a whole lot here that I found super memorable. Nothing that we haven't really kind of seen before. It's just, It's decent. Next is The Witch, and I am going to put The Witch up in the top category. Love Robert Eggers. The Witch is, I think, one of the best religious horror movies that I've seen. It's one of the best just horror movies of the last decade. I think it's fantastic. I think just again, they're just kind of interesting, thought-provoking themes in it. I think the performances are really great, and the ending is pretty great as well. I love The Witch. Mind blown. Next is The Vanishing, and this is from the late 80s, I believe. This might be a hot take, but I'm gonna put this one in overrated. Remember when I first watched this movie, I feel like I had it kind of so much built up because I heard so many good things about it, and it just kind of, I don't know. I didn't really find the ending all as kind of impactful as maybe it was built up to be, and this could be just one of those cases where expectations just kind of screwed me over. But I think I don't want to spoil it, but like the the decisions that or the decision that a character makes, which eventually leads to how he gets in the situation at the end of the movie, I just thought was idiotic. And so the ending to me just kind of was like, well, yeah, like what did you think was going to happen? So anyways, I think it's overrated. All right, next up we've got The Village, and I will stand by The Village. The Village for me, I'm going solid. I've seen this movie a handful of times. It's been a little while since I last watched it, but maybe I need to give it a rewatch again to see if it still holds up, but I'll stand by it. I think it's pretty solid. I know it's not quite at the level of, like, at least I know a lot of people were disappointed with the twist, and maybe it's not quite as good as like Sixth Sense or Unbreakable, but I'll stand by it. I think it's really solid. I think the atmosphere in it, cinematography is really nice. The music's really nice. I like Joaquin. I like Bryce Dallas Howard. And I really like it. I think there's a lot in there to appreciate that I think is pretty solid. So that's why it goes in a solid mystery. And that takes me to my last one, and that is The Wailing. And this one's also going in a solid mystery as well. This is another one, South Korea. And this one also kind of has some interesting religious type themes to it. Just a really interesting story. This one's a bit of like a police procedural mystery too. This like stranger shows up at this village, and then this sickness starts spreading around, and then this police officer is pulled into it because he's trying to save his daughter, and it's all just really, really good and creepy. And so it's just a great mixture of, like, you really get some pretty solid horrific stuff in it, but you also get like a really, police procedural mystery investigative type thing too. And so it's just a really nice combo of both of those working together for a really solid horror mystery. So there is my list. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the horror mystery subgenre, if you can't tell. A lot of those are in those top two categories. Got a couple controversial opinions, but what you gonna do? So those are my thoughts. Hit me up down below. Let me know where I was right, where I was wrong, and out of my mind. Would love to hear from you guys. Appreciate it. Let me know some of your favorite horror mysteries as well. Would love to hear from you. So that's all I got. Like always, it's all horror and thriller movie content on my channel. So listen, do not hit that subscribe button unless you want to be haunted by the beard.